Oh, in one minute.
Hello everyone, and welcome to September's meeting of Colwich Parish Council. Just going to quickly run through the fire drill. Should a fire break out in the building, our nearest exit is here, and this one towards the front of the building, hopefully somewhere there. And we can meet in the far end of the car park. There's a designated assembly point at the far end of the car park. So during this meeting, please raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to speak, and that's to debate an agenda item. The first 10 minutes of the meeting is dedicated to the members of the public that are with us today. To ask any questions to full council. We may not be able to give you an immediate response, but we'll aim to resolve any matters as quickly as possible. Do we have any questions, please, from members of the public? Yes.
Yeah, if I may, good evening everybody. John here. I think everybody knows me, but if not, I've got a business in the town and also the on-call watch manager for Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue at Holwich. But besides that, I'm a member of the Royal Observer Corps Association, because I used to be in the Royal Observer Corps to 1991. And at the meeting that we had this last week, the question was asked whether the beacon was going to be lit. I know it's the District Council's property, I believe, but are the Parish Council intending to light the beacon as they have done for other events for the Jubilee? And also, were the Parish Council going to invite a member of the Royal Observer Corps Association to light the beacon as they have in the past? There is quite a lot of information which I have got, if you want it, that's been sent round by Bruno P, who is the pageant master, and if you've got copies of that. But basically the question is it going to happen?
Thank you very much for your question. That is a great point, and our events committee are already working on the Jubilees celebrations, and there is an agenda item on that later on. Did you want to add to that?
I can update.
Yeah, sorry, it's got update.
The intention is, yes, to light the beacon. That's what we're planning. We're planning, obviously, to do that on the Thursday, and then also planning something else on the Saturday. And there is an agenda item to agree for a public consultation on that. So if anybody wants to come for any part of the Jubilee celebrations and feed into that, then they'll be welcome to attend that meeting.
And if you want to read that document, that would be brilliant.
Yeah,
John,
I think
thank
we've
you.
already got it.
Have we?
Yeah,
Yeah, just to be on the safe side. But thank you.
I'll give you and Steve at the end.
Thank you, John. Okay, do you have any other questions, please? From
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Can you tell me where the clerk is tonight?
the clerk's on a very well-deserved annual leave break.
Is that permissible under the standing orders?
What, to have a holiday?
Not to have a holiday, but not to be available for a council meeting.
We actually have the deputy clerk with us tonight. So I think that's all in order.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome, thank you. Right, so we'll now instate the standing orders and commence with our first agenda item, which is 2021/2-68, and that's the first item on this agenda this evening. And that is apologies and absence and reasons given, please.
We've received apologies from councillors Evelyn Penny, Dan Taylor and Rachel Flood, and the reasons are acceptable.
Okay, as we do at every meeting, we have a proposer and a seconder to accept those apologies. Isabel, Peter, thank you. All those in favour? Okay, apologies accepted. Item number 69 is the clerk's report, please.
For the vacancy of the resignation of Sandra, the vacancy ended on the 3rd of September with no elect requests, and now is available for co-option. And for the vacancy update on the Home Ward and the 2 vacancies for the Town Ward, we haven't had any applications and there is still 3 vacancies available. For the correspondence received, the Chairman has had a conversation with a member of the public about a bench. He did refer it to Fleet Parish Council as it was in their area.
Thank you, Anthony. Agenda item number 70 is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2011 and to consider any requests for dispensation in respect of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests in agenda items. Do we have any declarations of interest? John? No? Okay. We'll take that as none, but if we do approach an agenda item where there is a pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest, please disclose it at the time. Item number 71 is minutes of previous meetings. To agree the notes of the meetings of the 9th of August 2021 and the 16th of August 2021 as minutes. Do we have a proposer and a seconder for those? Thank you, Rick. Sam? And all those in favour? So that item has. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry about this, folks. Shall start? Thank you. Okay, so item number 72 is police, county and district matters.
The police reports that use have been written into the old Boxing Academy building and the SHBC yard on Fleet Street. Fire crews have attended the Boxing Academy building and soon have started a fire at that location and investigations are ongoing. They are doing their best with the fatal fuel priority, but due to staffing levels they haven't done as much as they would like. They will be looking at carrying this over for the next quarter, and if that's what the local residents want, they'll put out a message via Facebook and next door in due course. There has also been several reports of thefts from building sites in and around Holt Beach.
Thank you. And then moving on to county and district, we do have Tracy with us. Would you like to speak on behalf of district and county, please?
Thank you. Just kept it really brief today. Obviously, the Boston Road stabilisation work is now completed, so that was quite a long slog, but good news that that is done and finished with. It's Flash Shop Day this Thursday again. This time the focus is the Hobbitch Community Bookshop. There then is another couple of shops after that, and then we follow on to then end the flashes with the big bang, which is the 4th of November. Literature is starting to go out to the businesses, but just so you guys are all aware of it, it's the launch of Christmas shopping in Holt Beach. So it isn't a Christmas fair, it's absolutely, the focus is on the businesses in the town, promoting those and supporting those to obviously have a great start to Christmas shopping. Any questions anyone's got on it, obviously please feed them into me, and obviously continue to raise anything to me. That's it.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
And big thanks on the Boston Road. Okay, item number 73 is highway matters and road closures.
LCC are doing pothole repairs on an unnamed track of Penny Hill Road between the 25th of October and the 8th of November, and Anglian Water are putting in a new connection between Stoneton's Gate and Joyce Bank from the 20th of September to the 22nd of September.
Thank you. Item 74 is our Open Spaces Committee, and we will invite a report from the Chairman of Council, Rachel Flood, who is absent and in place. May I ask Isabel to read the Chair's report?
Yes, I will go through it briefly. Nature Reserve, request from Waddles Duck Rescue for access to the nature reserve. There are some issues with liabilities, etc. So it is an agenda point, so we'll discuss that in more detail later. The duck food machine will be going back up within the next week. The Dog Drove roadway, the clerk has met with 2 contractors for quotes to the work that's needed down there. Once all the quotes are in, then it will be included as an agenda item in another meeting. Bins, the clerk is waiting to hear from South Holland District Council. Carter's Park, signage will be placed on the tennis courts to say no bikes. New park opening hours from the 1st of October to the 31st of March. Should be, it's not an agenda item, is it? We agreed at the meeting that we would like to do 8 AM between October and March, and from the 1st of April to the 30th of September have them opening at 7:30 in the morning instead, to help alleviate some of the issues with children going to school and safety on the road so that they can access the park to get through. Netherfield, we had a good response from the people online and from the residents down there regarding the survey as to whether the vehicular gate should be opened or not. The resounding response was to leave the gates as they are and keep them with the pedestrian access only. So that is what we decided to do. We have put in an application for some free trees for that area from an LCC. In the cemetery, we are going out for quotes for the chapel roof to be sheeted down for the winter. This is because we are still waiting for South Holland District Council Conservation Officer to come back to us with confirmation as to the situation around whether we need permissions or not to do the work. This has been going on since March, and quite frankly, we are getting a little bit annoyed with that fact. So if anybody can help with that situation, I would be extremely grateful, as they can't even seem to answer an email. And grass cutting, that is an agenda item, so I think we'll leave that at that point.
Thank you, Isabel. Okay, so from the report, item A, under open spaces, is to agree to allow the duck rescue organisation Waddles to have a key to Fish Pond Lane Nature Reserve to allow for the rescue of injured ducks, subject to it being at their own risk, a risk assessment being in place, and always with a minimum of 2 people. Now, we looked into this in our Open Spaces Committee, and we talked about the fact of the rescue would happen irrespective. At the moment it isn't right because they can jump over the fence, so we want to work with them to reduce liability. There was a report on the drive about this and the comments from the insurers. Did everyone manage to read through that? So the item is to agree to allow the Duck Rescue Organisation Waddles to have a key to the Fish Pond Lane Nature Reserve. Do we have a proposer and a seconder on this motion, please? Isabel?
I would propose providing that all the risk assessments have been put in.
Yeah, sounds. All those in favour? Okay, so that item is agreed subject to the correct risk assessments being carried out. If we can liaise with Waddles through the office to do the risk assessments, etc. Thank you. Item B is to agree to allow line management access to the park siren as and when required. This is just in case there's a situation where the siren may need altering or making sure it's triggered or set in the absence of anybody else that's controlling the siren. So very simple.
Why are they not there access already? Just as a matter of interest.
I think it's just one of those things that it was asked for us to agenda it to ensure that permission was there.
Right.
So it's just to make it crystal clear. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Sam? Sam? That was confusing. All those in favour? C, to reconfirm the delegated powers used by the Open Spaces Committee regarding the temporary grass cutting. So temporary grass cutting has been put into place with the absence of a member of the team. The Open Spaces have worked within their delegated authority powers that they apply to. So the item is to confirm that the delegated powers used by the Open Spaces Committee regarding the temporary grass cutting. Did everybody see that in the drawing? So do we have a proposer, please? Yeah, Rick, seconder. Isabel, all those in favour? Super. So that item's been reconfirmed. Item 75. To agree to suspend standing orders to change the terms of reference for the Planning, Properties, Emergency Planning and Speeding Committee as follows. To give the committee delegated powers to support or object to planning applications. When we suspend standing orders, it's because we're reversing or changing a decision that was made in the last 6 months. Do we have a proposer and a seconder to suspend standing orders? A proposer, thank you, Eddie. And Peter as a seconder. All those in favour to suspend? Okay, so standing orders have been suspended and now we can take a vote. The vote on to give the committee delegated powers.
Can I?
Yeah, of course you can.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm going to reiterate what I said at the planning meeting, just so everybody is aware of what the actual delegated authority is at the minute, because there did seem to be some confusion. So before we have the committee system, what would happen is all councillors would give their comments to the chair of planning. Chair of planning would then collate those comments, and based on kind of the majority would respond to the planning application. But obviously, with the whole new committee systems, that process needs to be approved by either the committee or full council before they go off to South Holland. So at the moment, currently all councillors can give their comments in. That's then collated, and it's either approved. The comment is either approved at the planning meeting or full council. So the comments itself can be done at the moment. What the committee are asking for is the bit where you say, generally, do we support or do we object to a planning application? Because the terms of reference state that unless the majority of councillors support or object, you can't do that because the majority of full council haven't agreed to that opinion. And the reason being is the support and object is an opinion of saying, do we support or object it, and the comments would be factual information based on material considerations, etc. My only concern with this is technically, if you're giving a committee delegated authority to give an opinion on behalf of full council, that could be a minimum of 3 people. And that technically would mean that in terms of your other committees, if you're treating everybody the same, it could mean for like PR and IT, we could do a press release saying the full council's opinion is X, Y and Z without bringing that to full council, which I feel is a bit of a sticky situation to be getting in. You don't need to say you support an objective planning application to be able to carry out the role of commenting on them. So I just feel it's a bit of a sticky situation, but obviously that's down to full council to make a decision.
There's a good point there, because at the moment, and the way that I personally see it is that if you don't object or have got nothing to say about it, and say nothing means that you're neutral. If we're then restricting that down to a committee and only 3 people, or 3 people object to it, but the majority of the council are okay with it, you're going to be making comments on there that's not the actual general view of the council, it's the view of 3 people. So I do understand exactly what Sophie's just explained. Eddie, do you want to explain?
Yeah, would you mind? Yeah, I mean, we can only object to planning applications on material information. We can't object on opinion, so that's incorrect. Opinion you can't object on. That's general public can, but we can't as councillors. We're doing this because sometimes an application comes in that we don't have time between meeting and full council meeting, committee meeting, full council meeting to discuss, which is we're going to talk about one later on in my report, and have to sometimes act a bit quicker. And it's not based on opinion, I promise you.
No.
It will
So-
be based on material fact.
Just for that idea, when did you last meet as a committee?
2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago? Yeah. We meet in between, bang in between the councils.
So technically you have 2 windows to comment on applications at the moment, but you want to have the opinion to literally be commenting probably as they come in. Is that what you're saying?
Within the time limits, obviously we can't comment straight away. We've got a cooling off period before we were allowed to comment anyway. But this is just something that has come up, and Isabel brought it up on one of my things we're going to talk about in a minute. But we can't have got time to talk about it at the next meeting because the decision day is the next day, so we can't bring it to full council.
Sophie?
I think again that there's a bit of confusion because you can, with how it is at the moment, you've got 2-week windows. So you either agree comments at your planning committee meeting or you agree them at full council. You can agree those comments, and really the most important thing is the comments, because that's what South Holland District Council will go on, because that's where you detail what your material considerations are, what your objections are and why. The object and support really doesn't matter, because you can put comments for every single application, and you can do that at the moment. So, you know, the question is, obviously there's been confusion as to what you can and can't do, but you can be commenting on all of the applications. As long as you schedule your meetings for 2 weekly cycles, you're not going to be over the time limits because there's enough window to comment on them. And they can be discussed at your planning committee meeting and agreed for full council as well. You don't have to send them, if you agree them at planning, those comments can go off. And if you agree them at full council, those comments go off. So you don't have to wait till full council, if that makes sense. It's just,
which is what we need.
yeah, that's what you can do at the moment.
A downside that I see is that each of us that are around this table, we could actually comment on every single planning application ourselves,
Yeah.
as opposed to directing them all your way. But I understand that there's some ones that you're going to be dealing with that planning will get their teeth into and want to debate and talk about. So the actual item that we're here is that the committee's asking for a delegated power to be able to comment, to support or object on planning application on behalf of the full council. As a council, I'm actually happy for that to happen. Whereas at the moment, you've got a 2-weekly cycle, any of us can already comment on the things. If we've got something that we need to reach out to the planning team on, we are doing. Sophie's explained that. Anybody got any other thoughts?
I can't see the point in changing it, to be honest. I think it works the way it is. After reading the emails from each councillor on one of the points, there were some valid reasons there. If it's on a bi-weekly cycle anyway, there doesn't need to be a change to it.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
So what we've done, we've suspended standing orders, and the standing orders is to ask to give the committee delegated powers to support or object to planning applications. Do we have a proposer? And do we have a seconder to support that motion? Anybody?
Well, I'll propose it.
Okay.
I didn't know it was coming in, but I propose it.
And do we have a seconder for the motion to provide delegated powers to the committee? Okay, so then it goes to a vote. And as long as we're clear what we're voting on, so that all those in favour to give delegated authority or powers to the committee, please. Okay, so there's an indication there. Do you want to take a vote? Okay, so all those not in favour? Okay.
Can I just ask a question before we go any further? Why was this put on here?
It's requested.
Right.
You must have been, someone must have requested it as well.
It was requested at our meeting.
Can you?
Was it me?
No,
Oh.
the meeting, right?
I was still
No,
going.
we had quite a long debate about how we as a council can respond to planning applications, because there have been occasions when comments from us as a council have not got back, for example, to South Holland because of time delays, because of the process we had wasn't as efficient. So we believed at the time a delegated power may actually make that process more efficient, focusing on a smaller number of people, and therefore allowing us as a council to respond on behalf of our parishioners to planning applications.
So, having spoken about it and debated, it unfortunately hasn't been agreed tonight. It doesn't mean to say that we can't try again later, so monitor it and then bring it back on the table if need be. Right, so we'll reinstate standing orders and commence on to item number 76, which is the Planning, Properties, Emergency Planning and the Speeding Committee's report, and that's by the Chairman, Councillor Andy McNally, please.
This is called PBS, much easier.
I have to read everything out word for word, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'll get tongue tied. Right, we had our meeting a couple of weeks ago where we discussed various things. There wasn't any contentious stuff apart from one application that was retrospective change of use from paddocks to stacking caravans, and Peter brought that up about it was a concern from residents more than anything else, but there was no material facts and we couldn't do anything about it, so we had to put no observations. That's the only thing that we actually discussed on that time. The next thing I want to bring up is something that we've had a lot of chitter-chat about, and that is the Checkers car park. From quite a few people in here, personally, and I'll give you my personal opinion, I totally agree. I don't like it because it will cause horrendous congestion and problems in the future. I totally agree with that. But material facts, it's difficult. We brought up the bins, and I see here on the plan here, there is a bin shed being erected. There's already cottages on there. There is a bin storage area right in the corner, which we have. Yes, there's only a very few parking places, even less for the Checkers Hotel, but I propose to throw this over to the floor because we've all made comments on it. Let's have a debate about it, let's have a discussion about it, and see if we can find some material facts that we can put to South Holland. Because this has to go now to the council. Because we have got 1 day, as what you're saying, to discuss it at the next meeting. Yeah. Now, there's been much emails on this, as we know, we've got piles of them here. Let's show some concern about this development. I'm concerned, but I can't see anything that South Holland will object on.
Is it not dangerous driving out of that courtyard onto the main road?
Of course it is. It's dangerous driving anywhere. Again, it is awful, we know that.
I think the problem is with a lot of the material considerations is when you consider the existing use of it. They've got 25 car parking spaces in there at the moment, and they're reducing it down to 15. So yes, the junction coming out it is bad. They've already given permission for all of those residential units in the Checkers, so you've actually increased the housing around there, and actually the proposal is to reduce the number of car parking spaces. So whatever problem is there, they would be reducing that problem.
All I can see, I don't know if it's material, is because the public site itself is open, is you could create congestion on the road, double yellow lines, etc. Parking, for reducing the amount of parking spaces. Even though it's a public house, which one shouldn't drive to, people always do. So then, I mean, I've noticed myself along the high street that there is a huge amount of parking, illegally and legally, in the centre of town at the moment. One that shouldn't check having 9 or 4 licenses now, that this will only get worse, especially with less parking spaces.
The only problem I can see with that is the Crown only has 3, and they're providing 5 visitor car parking spaces for the Checkers. So technically it's more than other pubs have got. Horse and Groom hasn't really got much parking. So in comparison to other businesses...
Can I ask about the safety issue of the door for the Checkers being open onto the road?
I looked into that because me and Peter did a site inspection. Excuse me. That doorway has been onto that roadway for donkey's years, and that car park used to be, excuse me, 20, 30 cars. So the point that Sophie was making is that the actual existing use is irrelevant because it's actually reducing down, and the safety for the people that are frequenting the bar is obviously down to the bar owners. The lines on the main road, which I commented on, is one single and then double, is highways and above us. The actual building of those properties, it's an eyesore to look at, and houses would look better. If we're struggling to find material facts to provide, then the district are going to have this exactly the same conversation. So although you want to debate it, Eddie, and we've all chipped in with our bits and we've all looked at different bits, when you look at those material facts, it is just so... If you can't come up with anything, then, you know, we've all tried.
I totally agree with you. I mean, we all agree that it's not right, but anyhow, that's not a material fact, is it?
No, you could ask yourself who would want to buy them and live there. The chances are they'll probably get rented out like the rest of the you know, so at the end of the day we just have to be fluid with that, and if we haven't got any material reasons to object, then we should maybe just not come in.
Let district do it.
Yeah.
Let district.
I did notice on the application form, our building it in a disused car park, which is incorrect.
I think they've partitioned it off, or they had done, so the back end would be classed as a disused car.
There's still
There's
got-
still cars in it, I will overlook it. So.
Yeah, I did a site visit myself to look at space. There was 5 cars in that on the time I went.
We were talking about today, I want to get parked out there, haven't we? But yeah, I mean, the only reason I wanted to debate is because so many people on the council have talked about it.
Yeah.
And said emails.
I think it's a good point, and it also shows on the recording minutes published that we've discussed that.
Yeah.
And just remind people when you want to speak, just to raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Eddie, do you want to continue on?
Yeah, sure. Now we're past that. There's not really been a lot of action in the last few weeks about planning at all. On speed, Peter has done a very, very detailed report. My God, it was detailed. Well done, Peter. But I can't say anything about that apart from fantastic work. And Peter has really taken this on with the speeding. He's done some incredible work with city deployments. He's got money from the district council, which is fantastic, and he's applied, obviously, to the finance committee for the tiny bit we need to get another seat, which is absolutely brilliant. I commend you on that, absolutely. If you want to say anything, really please do. If there's something there, something that sticks out that you want to point out to everyone,
Just a couple of points to follow on from our meeting 2 weeks ago, where we supported a TRO request for speed reduction on Joy's Bank, St John. That's gone into the County Council, and also a further request by a wide group of parishioners in Holbeach Grove for a survey of traffic and speed there, because the traffic is coming down very, very quickly. I'm gathering the facts about at the moment, and TRO will go in within the next week. I've already heard back on the Joy's Bank, that is being scheduled. And if you remember last year we had quite a discussion around 17 road traffic incidents at Rivergate Corner, Holbeach St John. Basically it wiped out the sewage works 2 days before Christmas. That was Merry Christmas to the residents up there. And also took out all the Chevron sign and the other signage. LCC have now scheduled the replacement of that signage, and that's due to be completed within the next 6 to 8 weeks. And I'll be following that up. Because my fear is, as the clocks move and the dark nights come in, we'll have a recurrence of more accidents at that corner, which is, it's actually 92 degrees, and traffic comes up there at nearly 70 miles an hour into it. So yes, fearful of that. So plenty of work going on in and around the parish.
thanks, Pete. That's great. That's really good work. Isabel, anything on properties?
Only to report that the flat has now been let.
Oh, excellent. Brilliant. Right, that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Eddie. And item A is to agree the planning application responses. Do we have any?
We have no objections and no objections. That's really, one no observation, the rest are objections.
So in order then, we'll just take a quick agree. So we'll have a proposer and a seconder for those comments. Eddie, seconder, Peter. All those in favour? Okay, so that's agreed. And item B is to discuss the parking restrictions down Park Road.
Yeah, I know nothing about this. It's just been put on here. I don't know who put the point. Did anyone put this on here? 'Cause
Somebody from your committee?
I think it might have been Dan.
Yeah, I think it was an item that Dan raised.
Right.
I think it was in an open spaces
Mm.
meeting around the crossing point between the park and the cemetery. So it might be better to adjourn that one.
Okay, so we'll defer that to re-agenda. Can I have a proposer and a seconder to adjourn? Yeah, that's Sam. And that's deferred. Just make sure it goes on for next agenda. Okay.
Right, that's the end of the PPES.
Thank you very much, Eddie.
And just to mention, apologies, myself and Peter Howden have been appointed as the flood wardens. That's the only other thing that came out of that meeting. We agreed, didn't we, Peter?
We did. I think.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your appointments as flood wardens.
We'll rescue you all.
Okay, so moving along to item number 77 is the PR and IT committee and the co-option of any interested members. First of all, is there any interested members that would like to pop onto PR and IT? Do you have any takers?
I'm doing this.
Don't pop your hand up. There's a new volunteer. We've got Peter wanting to join PR and IT. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Sam. Again. Okay. And all those in favour? Lovely. Peter, welcome to PR and IT committee. I'm sure that Sam will take great care of you. And moving on to the report from the Chairman, Councillor Sam Richardson, please.
Yet again, nothing really to note. Everything's flying along nicely as ever. Sophie's doing her Facebook updates. I think we'll probably have a meeting this month, but we haven't had one for a couple of months. So there'll be more to discuss next time. Ta-da.
Ta-da. Okay, and your item A is to discuss the Youth Council.
Yes, so I did a little bit of research, and there is some interest. I spoke to the head teacher of the University of Oldbridge, I can't remember what it's called, George Ramsden, it's not George Ramsden. And he's very much interested, but I did have a little bit more research, and I put it on the drive. It's called Whatever Yeah by Now. And there's an interesting thing on there about having a student advisor, which I think may be a good way of starting a youth council. Instead of trying to organise such a large thing, if we get the young gentleman that helped at the parish council offices, Mike, was his name?
Mikey.
Yeah, Mikey. He's very much interested in helping create this, but this student advisor idea is to get a couple of people from the secondary school to come and advise us, because most of us are a little bit older. I've got younger children, and most other people have got older, so we don't have that connection to the 13 to 17 age group that we probably could have. So if we utilised Mikey and a couple of his friends who could come on to, not to have any voting powers, to come and discuss on events and other committees, to see what they would like, so they can discuss within the school themselves. And then if they show the interest, then we can help create the youth council from that, rather than trying to create the youth council and not having the interest, give them the chance to see how it all goes and see what they have to say first. That's what I'm discussing.
Lovely. Well, if you keep us updated with your interest with the Youth Council, and then you can update us when you've got some more information. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so moving on to number 78 is the Events Committee, and a report from the Chairman Councillor Isabel Hutchinson, please.
Okay, the Events Committee met on the 20th of August and we were joined by representatives of the Royal British Legion and arrangements for the parade were discussed, but this is an agenda item so we are not going into any more detail. And also we also discussed a date for a public meeting for the Jubilee celebrations to invite any interested members to come along, and that is also an agenda item. And then we had a discussion around an event for October, and we discussed about having a Halloween type event in half term, which would involve window decorations, and children would then be able to find items within the window display. So we are going to be discussing that in more detail at our next meeting, so more detail will come from that.
Thank you. So item A under the report will be to agree the date of the Jubilee public meeting on Monday, the 11th of October 2021 at 1700 hours at the Methodist Hall. Do we have a proposer and a seconder for that? Carol, thank you. Isabel, all those in favour? Super. So we can get that advertised and out there. And then there'll be a break and then we'll go into the monthly meeting at 7, is that right? Yeah, super. And item B is to discuss and agree the marshalling for the Remembrance Day Parade on the 14th of November 2021. Do we want to expand a little on that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Isabel.
Obviously, in our discussions at our events meeting, we went into quite a lot of detail as to what is going to be required. Our clerk has been in contact with various people around what we are going to need to do with the marshalling to cover us for the insurance. There is a training session that we have booked 2 people on, which is not until the 20th of October, which is very late in the day, so we have got to rely on the information that we've been given from other people that regularly run parades for remembrance. Now, the information we have been given from these people is that we need to have 2 marshals on every main junction throughout the whole route and 1 marshal on any cul-de-sac or road that is a smaller road. So that in total comes to at least 20 marshals. Now, that is an extremely difficult thing to find. We have had a volunteer that can provide potentially 8 to 10 marshals, but we have gone out and asked for members of the public as to whether they would be interested. We went out on Facebook, which has been shared on several other sites, and that was also reported in the press, and asked people to respond to the clerk by this meeting, because we do need to make a decision tonight whether we can run the parade or not, because obviously the letters have got to go out, so we need to know tonight whether we're going to run it or not. And we had no response whatsoever. So that leaves us with an issue that we have potentially a shortfall of 10 stewards, which we can't use everybody sitting around the table here because some people want to be in the parade, others have got other things that they're doing on that day. So we do need support from elsewhere if we're going to actually be able to do this. So my question is, does anybody actually know of people that would want to do it? If they do, we need those details ASAP, because we need to know that they are going to be available for the whole of the afternoon, and they also need to undertake training prior to the event. and we need all their name, contact details, because we have to put it all on our information that we have to send off to district for the event management. So it's got to happen this week if we're going to do it at all.
Right, Eddie.
What qualifications are they after for people to marshal? Anything at all?
No, they have to undertake, we have to go on a training session which is set up especially for parades,
Right.
and then we have to then give that information to the marshals. So it's up to us to train them directly.
Right.
And that's the issue. We don't get that training until the 20th of October, so we can't then do that training to the marshals until after the 20th of October. So it's not the fact that between now and the 20th of October, yes, we could probably find volunteers, but we need to send out the invites to everybody that is going to want to attend the parade this coming week or the next week at the very latest. And if we haven't got marshals already, we can't risk having to cancel it at the last minute. So the question is, what do you want to do?
Can
Sam, I invite to speak.
about the air training corps and people like that that often help? Are they?
Yeah, the trouble with those is they're in the parade. If you're in the parade, you can't marshal.
That's the issue. All the people that would normally help with these situations all want to be in the parade.
We have a problem.
Carol?
Might it be worth sending out to things like the air cadets and asking the parents of those children whether they might be prepared to marshal? I know they want to see their children in the parade, but it's another avenue.
The thing is I suppose the question that we're talking about here is that events and the scope of things have reached out. It was in the press,
Yeah.
it's been in The Voice, it's been on social media. It's a little bit disappointing that obviously we've had no response. Now this is the parade as we remember it, so it starts off right at the community centre, all down Dungay. It's the full works that as being councillors some of us have already been on. Now last year there was a different ceremony altogether, which was smaller, as in no parade, but there was the service at the memorial. Have we got any contingency plans on this?
Yeah, don't be councillor on now, so not the chairman of the British Legion. How much time have we got now, madam, to get the other 10 people?
No longer, the latest would be Friday.
Friday,
Absolute latest,
right.
because I have to tell that
Okay,
our
madam.
contact...
Bear in mind, these people have been trained up for the respective branches, the respective councils within Lincolnshire. I think it's 18 at the moment, their parade is in the morning. Whole Beach is in the afternoon. So to get from A to B, and B being the community centre, they could probably get there by 1:15. They are fully trained, like I am. Why can't we use, if I can get them, there's your numbers, Mr. Chairman. Why can't we make they know about it, and if they can get here, hopefully their parade goes well, and no mishaps, no transport mishaps or anything like that, and we've got till Friday. Mr. Chairman, why can we have 1 week to get this sorted out? The people are there because tonight at 5:30 my wife took a message from an unknown caller and we couldn't trace the number. What is happening with Old Beach? Are we having a parade? Time and time again in the last week I've had hundreds of calls. Load. We have to do something for the people at Old Beach. If these people are trained, I mean I can train them, they know we've done training. I've done the police one, I've done it all. You know that and I know that. Why can't we have an extra week to get this sorted out instead of particularly on Friday? It's now Tuesday, it's now Monday night. We need that bit extra space. And just for the sake of people in Old Beach, if he comes off, fine. If he doesn't, we'll have to just have the service. It would be sad from the point of view when I've been organising this for 15 odd years, so I do know what I'm talking about. Why can't we have that bit extra week just to see what we can do? And then we can go back to people and say to them, we have tried, we have tried.
Okay, John, thank you for your comments.
We just
I
need that
understand.
bit, because we don't want any more flag. That's the thing we've got to reconsider. And there's a lot of people with military backgrounds living in Old Beach who attend this service every year, for years gone by. The fathers, the grandfathers, etc. We need to give them that extra belief that we can put it on, and I hope we can put it on.
Thank you.
Thank you,
John.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, John. The points here that we have to remember, this is not the first time we have talked about this around this table. It's not the first time the Remembrance Parade has been mentioned. And now, here we are, being faced with a decision.
Right, so when did we know about this 23 people extra last week?
Sorry, John, you're on the events committee.
Sorry.
Isabel.
Well, my point is just that. We have discussed this before. It has been discussed in detail at events about how many people we need. So all the people on events knew how many people we needed. And quite frankly, the only person on events that has actually volunteered to be a steward is myself.
Yeah.
So where are all these other people that supposedly want this parade to go ahead and yet they're not coming forward? You know,
I don't know that, Mum. How many people around here that would like
I
the
know,
parade?
but I'm not saying that I don't want to see this parade go ahead, but it is
Do you honestly want to see
it's
the
our insurance and our organisation that is covering this, and so therefore if we're going to do it, it's going to be done correctly and properly, because we cannot afford it not to be done properly. So therefore, if there are people out there that want to help us, then by all means, if they can be in touch by the end of this week, we can delay it by that amount of time, but no longer, because we have got to get this sorted out, because the invites have got to go out next week at the very, very latest.
Sam.
Sorry, can I just ask if there's an age spec for this, as a marshal, because I'm not saying, I'm saying how young.
Oh, yeah, they have to be.
They would have to be over 18, yeah?
They'd have to be over 18, and they'd have to be physically capable.
We can pray on adults.
Okay, so we know how important this is. We've heard John's comments. We've talked about the parade. We've tried. Isabel's asking for numbers by Friday, and John's asking for a week, which would be a few more days. So here we sit, wanting to do the best for Whole Beach and put on the parade. The events team are struggling with numbers. There's people maybe around here that might want to jump on board and add to those numbers if they haven't already. It isn't my job as a chairman to say whether the parade goes ahead or not. I'm here to support. One of my roles is to actually represent the parish council by laying the wreath, which means that I personally can't marshal. So, between us, we need to come up with a solution. Any proposals, anybody? Sam?
I've started a new job that has access to a larger group of people that may not have known of the issues that we are being dealt with. If you leave it with me until Friday, I may be able to ask some people that may not know of the dire straits that we're in, if that is okay.
With that comment then, and John, you've mentioned numerous people have been contacting you. Could you muster up these volunteers by Friday?
Sorry.
Can you muster up your volunteers by Friday? You mentioned you've had numerous people calling you
Probably
about
not
it.
Friday, probably. That's what I want to give it till Monday.
Are any of those volunteers, the people that are
Yeah.
ringing you and hassling you about it, are they volunteers? Can they?
Yeah,
they
and they're fully trained, by the way.
No, I'm talking about the people that you're saying are ringing you, constantly saying about the parade. Can any of those volunteer so that they can make it happen? Is it worth an ask?
I don't know that answer, to be honest.
Sam?
I'm working on the Sunday, I can't, but what about I go to Royal's gym and ask Sam if he can come up with any lads from the gym that would join us for the afternoon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just not that you took the word
So,
out of
so in order, just to move on, can we agree then that we have until a week today?
At the very latest.
The very latest a week today. Can we have a
We need
proposer?
names and contact details.
Yeah,
Not just
okay.
the name,
Yeah, we
names
know.
and contact details.
Proposer, thank you.
No, I wasn't proposing.
Oh,
I had to ask a question.
Go on then.
if I may. What happens if, by the close of play on Monday, we've got 23 names to do the marshalling, and on the day, only 15 turn up? What happens then?
You're absolutely right what you say. I see where you're coming from. If there's an overdue on the parade there and an overdue on the parade there, they might be a bit overdue. Community centre. It's a gamble at the moment. It's a gamble.
Well, we can't do gamble, it's got to.
No, I know.
If
We
they
need to
commit,
know.
they must commit.
Yeah, I'm working. Yeah, I know about this. I know.
yeah. So Sam's mentioned
Yeah.
he's got some group of people to talk to. Sam's going to talk to the Royals gym. We've got some
Yeah.
names, and we'll have until a week today.
Yeah. You keep it on.
Can we have a proposer and a seconder? Carol, seconder. Sam, all those in favour? And that's names and contacts of all marshals to be with the events chair
Yeah.
by a week today.
Can I just say one thing?
What you asked for?
It is difficult for me to sit here and say this after we do so long and Chairman British leaving, but I must let you know and tell you, it's not just the marshals, it's people sitting around this room that will have to pick up the barriers, the bollards, everything concerned with the road closure when they are in storage and the bridge is in place in Sunbridge. I offered to move them with a couple of families, because one of them's got a vehicle, and bring them down and put them behind Jenny's shop on the Saturday night. I nearly got my head chopped off for volunteering to do that. They said, John, do not touch a barrier. Sadly, we can't do it. So that arrangement on top of that will have to be made. If they can get the councillors, and that's where we're looking to help us, to move them barriers down into Old Beach, put them out that morning, collect them in, and then take them back to Sunbridge. That's all I can say. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, so has that information been relayed to the events team?
Pardon?
Has that information been relayed to the events team that are trying to organise this?
We don't organise it, yeah. Yeah, I did, I beg your pardon, I did mention to the client, yes.
We're aware that we need signage. We've had 2 different scenarios around signage, but we will have to work out exactly what we need for that particular route and then organise it.
Okay, so it will be in hand, but thank you, John.
Yeah. If I could help you, I could, but somebody was peeping around the bush saying, look at him, you should be doing this. It's sort of slow, isn't it?
Okay, thank you for that debate then. So we'll be moving on to item number 79, which is the Finance Committee and the report from the Chairman, Councillor Rick Stevens, please.
So, nothing major to report. We've had our normal monthly meeting. We've done our normal bits and bobs. Pick up on budgets in a minute. There's an agenda item. Nothing else to say.
Okay. Thank you very much. So item A is to agree the September payment list. Everyone seen that on the drive? Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Rick, seconder, Sam, all those in favour? Okay, that item is passed. And item B is to agree the Barclaycard payment. Have everyone seen that online? Are you? Oh, yeah. Question.
I was jumping the gun.
Jumping the gun. Okay, so go for it. Proposer?
Yeah.
Carol, seconder, Rick, all those in favour? Item passed. C is to agree the bank reconciliation. Everybody seen that on the drive? All balances nicely. Thank you, Rick. Proposer? Carol, seconder, Rick, all those in favour? Okay, item D is to agree to purchase a post-hole borer. technical piece of equipment. Go on, Rick.
So Jan has gone out and got some various quotes for the postal board. She's gone to Chislet, where we normally hire the equipment from, just to find out what spec we need. And we've got some various prices, and the best one at the moment is £850 for any 1p, which sounds a lot of money. However, what we currently pay for rental, we'd recuperate that cost in 3 years. But if we've got a postal board now, we can use it for more things than just posts.
Yeah.
We can use it for interpreting lashes and things like that. It's going to make life easier and save time. So, in my opinion, it's beneficial to have one.
Okay, so the item is to agree to purchase a postal whole borer, sorry, but I can't go around. Do we have a proposal and a second? Rick's proposed all his own items, seconding, and all those in favour? Yeah, so that will pay for itself. Thank you. And item E was to agree to purchase a new office chair for the deputy clerk. There's a nice picture on there. I think poor old Brandy has about had it. Essential piece of equipment.
We need to make a slight amendment to that if possible, because we now need to buy 2 chairs, because Jan's chair is not fit for purpose.
Okay, so when we make an amendment to an agenda item, we do have to then vote on the amendment first. So we are looking to amend item E to agree to purchase a new office chair for the deputy clerk, to include the deputy clerk and the clerk. So do we have a proposer for the amendment and a seconder? Sam, thank you, and Carol. All those in favour? That's the amendment. And the original item is to purchase the new office chair for the deputy clerk. Do we have a proposer? And a seconder, Sam, thank you, Carol. Yeah, all those in favour? Okay, so that's 2 chairs. Are they going to be the same?
No, different colours.
The thing was respected on that. Okay, so item F, please, is your budget updates.
So Jan has done masses of work on this, pulling off the budgets from last year, and we've gone through it, with the exception of the PPES group. We've gone through most of the budgets, looking forward to what we think we're going to need for next year. We've only got a first cut so far. We've also included some wish lists for next year, and I know Israel's got some projects coming up for next year that we're going to need some money for, obviously, and we need to make some priorities. And in certain requests, we'll probably need a more detailed business request to prove that the project is worth doing when we get there.
Okay. You're making a very good point. Planning so early is, I've never seen it in the years that I've been on here, so well done. I did have a quick look through and you could see there the build-up and a sort of a cost, and then these little wish lists coming in, that's what budgeting's all about. So thank everybody for their input into the budgeting already for the precept for the next financial year. And item number 80 is to agree on the review co-option policy and application form. So this was all put on the drive. It's just been rejigged slightly. Did everyone have a little look at that? Yeah. No real amendments, just the layout change. So do we have a proposer, please, Rick, and a seconder, Isabel? All those in favour? Okay, so that's approved. Item 81 is to agree to change the venue of parish council meetings to include the villages.
Yeah. We used to do that years ago.
Yeah. So just before we vote on this, I mean, this is going to be where possible. I believe the summer months, it's quite tempting to go to a drove and change a venue and then switch back. These venues are subject to availability, so not already being booked out, but also they could actually be slightly higher prices than we currently pay. So to agree to change the venue of parish council meetings to include the villages, do we have a proposer and a seconder? So we've got Peter and Peter on that one. It gave us that. All those in favour? Item passed. Number 82 is to agree to the date of the public meeting regarding floral displays that the council are responsible for, as in the parish council, the churchyard, War Memorial and the Beacon. And we have looked at a similar date as for the Jubilee meeting, and we're proposing or suggesting the 8th of November at 5 p.m. And again, that would just be before the monthly parish council meeting. So that is a proposal. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Sam, Isabel, all those in favour? Okay, so the public meeting has been agreed. If we can work with PR and get that one out there for that one. Right, and 83 is HR, Health and Safety, Data Protection Committee, co-option of any interested members. Is anybody interested in joining the HR, Health and Safety and Data Protection Committee? It's a half hand. It's a big job. Everyone's got their hands full at the moment. You don't have to fill it. The committee's up and running, but it's an opportunity if you're interested to jump on now, or you can jump on later. Going? Ah, Sam, okay. Well done, Sam. Okay, so we will have a proposer and a seconder for Sam to join the committee. Sophie, I'm taking a pick now. We'll go for Sam over there. All those in favour? Super. Sam, welcome to HR, Health, Safety and Data Protection Committee. I'm sure Sophie will look after you.
Thank you.
And a report by the Chairman, Councillor Sophie Hutchison, please.
I would like to propose that we take the report part into closed session because of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted.
Super, so Sophie's explained exactly my job while we go into a closed session. In order to do that, we do need a proposer and a seconder to take that item into closed session. Carol, Eddie is a seconder. All those in favour? Okay, so the report will be heard in closed session. And item A, to agree the purchase of man-down devices for home work.
So not too long ago we had the health and safety audit. We've got all the paperwork back and HR discussed that at the last meeting. And one of the recommendations was to purchase a man-down device for home working because you should be relying on your mobile phones. So we need to obviously investigate the costs, but obviously it's an important health and safety item, so we really need to be purchasing them as soon as possible.
Does everyone know what the man-down device is? Carol, are you looking at me as if you say no?
I mean, I know what it will be, but I don't know physically exactly what it is.
So it's like a device you put on your belt, and if you have a fall, it detects you've had a fall and it will alert.
Like monthly,
Yeah. Okay, so the item is to agree to purchase the man-down devices. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Sam, Carol, all those in favour? Okay, item passed. And B is to agree the works to the pavilion in Carter's Park.
So again, flagged up on the health and safety audit, a lot of the different bits and pieces related to the pavilion mostly. We're getting quotes out for electrical work to put in more sockets for equipment, etc. in there. And then it's generally a tidy up, put more storage, etc. in there. So we just need to agree to the works and then we can get cracking on them.
Okay, everyone's seen the information about the works on the pavilion? Okay, so the item is to agree the works to the pavilion in Carter's Park. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Isabel, Rick, all those in favour? Passed. And item C is to discuss and agree how to assist the Millennium Lighting Committee with regard to insurance.
Okay, so Jan has been corresponding to try and find out what the current situation is. And obviously, similar to many of the things like the British Legion Parade, if we were covering it on our insurance, then we would be having to control everything. So our insurance doesn't cover it, but Councillor Isabel Hutchinson has been doing a bit of research into it.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with a local company today and just asked the question, if they were to do their own insurance, what cost would we be looking at for that insurance? And they came back with a figure of around about £280. Now that would cover them putting the lights up whilst they're in situ, and also them taking it down, which obviously means that it's going to cover for any eventuality where, for if one of them were to fall down while they were up, anything, any injury or anything that was happening whilst going up or taking down, it would cover all of that. It covers up to about £2 million, so it's more than adequate for what they're going to need. There is a stipulation on that though, that they must have an electrician that has got their own public liability insurance on site whilst taking up and taking down. So that is the stipulation for that particular policy. There are many more out there, but that is the solution as far as I can see it. If, as was explained in the documentation, if we were to be covering it on our insurance, then there's got to be risk assessments done, we've got to control the whole thing, etc., etc. That's going to be slightly more difficult because obviously they do things themselves, they put them up, they take them down, they take charge of the whole situation. So that would be the solution, that they organise their own insurance and we could agree to pay for that insurance. We would normally give them a grant, so we could make an agreement to help with the cost of that insurance if that is the only solution.
Yeah, so there's an important thing here, because when an entity such as Millennium Lighting, they feel in the past that they were covered with the PC's insurance, when we asked them, the insurance were like, well, no, because you don't control it and you don't arrange it and you don't do this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, crikey. So there's a solution here where we can assist them, because we don't want to put obstruction in the way. I would think the best route then would be to go to the Millennium Lighting crew and say to them, this is the situation, this is how we can assist you, and if they're happy to do that, bring it back to the table and then we agree to support them with the cost of the insurance. But as I say, it's to discuss at this point, we're not actually agreeing anything. Eddie?
I think it's a brilliant idea. You know, we don't want it in our policy because it will cost us. It's far better to let them sort it out, and it's a very good price. So, well done.
We ask our insurers that cover everything now, and there is no way that, unless we contain it and own it, that it's covered anyway, so it really is our only option for them to continue the excellent work they do to brighten up our streets over Christmas and the festive periods. So, obviously the item is to discuss. It's obviously under your agenda item, but it's a negotiation between you and events. Who's going to contact Millennium Lighting just to talk about them and take it further?
If I can suggest that the office contacts them
The client,
and it says that this is what we've come up with.
Yeah.
I can give them the details of the company that I've spoken to, and then they can, if they wish to go down that route, that's up to them. If they want to go elsewhere, that's up to them.
Yeah, because they're not obliged to that policy, but it gives them a taste and a flavour and a price and our support. So if I can leave that with you, Brandy. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to item 84, it's items for discussion and agenda item requests. Anybody got any agenda item requests for next meeting at the moment? Anybody else?
I've only got one, just tagging of assets so that we know who tools, office equipment, etc. belongs to. That's all. It's not expensive. I've had a look already. We can get 100 numbered asset tags for less than £200.
Right, so are you going to cover that under your committee meeting, or do you want it as an agenda item? Because we're asking for agenda items or things for discussion. Can't actually agree for you to go ahead and do anything.
We'll discuss it at the next finance meeting
Yeah.
with the approval, with the plan to go for approval for council meeting
Yeah.
in October.
And if it falls under your remit, you can go ahead and do what you need to do.
Okay.
Any other agenda items? And remember, you can get your agenda items in right up before the deadline, and the office always alerts you to the cut-off. Get them to Brandy or Jan if they crop up. And moving on to 85, confirmation of date and venue of the next parish council meeting. We have to agree the next parish council meeting of the 11th of October 2021 at 1900 hours at the Methodist Hall, Arthur Street. It says to agree, so it's a done deal, isn't it? So, are we all happy with that date? Do we need to propose in a second for it? We might as well to close it off. Proposer, seconder, yeah. All those in favour? We're all going to be there.
No, I won't be there. I'll get my apologies now, but I'll be late.
Oh, very nice.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.